Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. This is Preacher Mars, host of the SOS Shout Out Show, coming to you live on Wednesday from Washington, D.C., the home where it all started, the home of Go-Go, the home of Chuck Brown, the home of Red Essence, the home of course, Marion Barry. That's the home of a lot of things. So I just had to throw that in. I don't know why I threw it in. I just felt like it. But listen, I hope you're having an amazing Wednesday. It seems like we're just whipping through. Can anybody remember when the start of summer was? I really can't, because we're just we're back to edging out on vacation days and trying to get our last picnics and things like that before Labor Day. Special shout out Sister Satana, who worked diligently. I think you guys know you'll be seeing some ads coming up on the show. We're doing the third annual Preacher Miles Muslim Comedy Festival in Dallas at ISNA at Hilton Anatole. Tickets are $25. We have a great lineup. Moses the Comic, Athea Yakub. We have Sabine Sadiq. We have Marlon Hill. We have myself hosting. The theme, alhamdulillah, is celebrating Muslim women. I know some people say, why didn't you do it for Palestine? I'm like, because everybody does something for Palestine. I wanted to think about something that was a little bit more broader, but also at the same time, I wanted to think of something that was, just as important, which was the whole aspect that we have to protect our women, in particular, our Black women, in particular, our Black Muslim women, in particular, our Muslim women, period. We got to protect women because this whole thing of aggression or oppression against Palestine, the whole thing about with aggression and oppression against women here in the United States, whether it be doing, a woman's right to choose her body, things like that. It's really this whole scope that it's an attack on women. It's an attack on female expression. It's an attack on female spirituality. It's an attack on female personage. So I decided we're going to do a show celebrating Muslim women. And it was funny because not that people gave me resistance. I guess I'm a little puzzled. Like, why haven't we done this before? I thought I would just be regurgitating something. We haven't done it before. So we're going to celebrate our sisters. We're going to have some comedy. We're going to have some special surprises. I hope you can be there. So I want to switch this up today because I actually want to get to a couple things that are really, really important. You guys are seeing the political landscape change in a tremendous space. And I think we really need to talk about it because that political landscape is subverting the spiritual and cultural landscape. That is the one thing that's available to us, the one thing that's meaningful to us. Oh, I forgot to go live here on Instagram. Sorry, Satana. Satana's like, Breach, you forgot. I sure did forget. See, I don't lie to myself. When I make a mistake, I just tell you I made a mistake. You know why it's easy to just say you made a mistake? One, you can learn right away. Two, you could just kill a lot of unnecessary conversation. Because the longer you wait, the longer somebody has something to say. Something. That's why they say you should apologize right away. Because once you apologize right away, you take away this whole thing that people feel that they can have some type of governance over you because you made a mistake. Just apologize, keep it moving. That's what forgiveness is about. Ask for forgiveness, give forgiveness, keep it going with your lives. So our topic today is Kamala Harris versus Sandra Massey. This Kamala Harris versus Sandra Massey. These are two Black women. One is Black and Indian, whatever, according to Trump, whatever. And I always have a problem with white people that really try to identify Black people in a certain way. The whole idea that you have understanding of genealogy is a farce to me. White people identify themselves as white as a part of this whole thing that here in the United States, you can't do anything other than that. Otherwise, you'll be considered part of an inferior group. So you can be white and a Jewish person, but in the long scale of person, you're going to say that you're white. You can be white and Arab. You're going to be, and it's just these are not things that I'm giving. Like, these things are not new. Okay. These things are proven throughout history. I was telling a friend of mine, these are proven throughout history. The scope and understanding of race in America is this. White people don't get it. And the reason they don't get it is because they created it. And if you create something that you don't understand, God help you. And don't get mad when other people figure it out and they figure out who you are. that's the crux of the conversation that we're getting ready to have today about Kamala Harris and Sandra Massey. Now, people will say, well, what's the correlation? The correlation is we in this society have adopted this whole phenomenon that we have what I like to say cultural amnesia. What I mean by cultural amnesia is the fact that we pick and choose, because there's a bunch of people out there that don't like Kamala Harris and they talk bad about Kamala Harris, and you have the entire right to do so. But the reason we do that to Kamala Harris in some regards is because she's accessible. She's accessible. And the world has been trying to put the boot on the neck of black women and black feminism for years. Hear me now, for years. So the idea that you can do this to Kamala Harris, but you won't take a Donald Trump to task because you're afraid of him, because white privilege has privilege. See, Kamala Harris is not building. She's not General Electric. She's not Google. She's not Elon Musk. She can't control your space like that. But we believe that a Donald Trump can. And we look at it, he's like the Wizard of Oz. If you ever see the Wizard of Oz, everybody was afraid of the Wizard of Oz till Toto, a little dog, pulled a curtain and realized that this big myth monster was nothing but a man. And you're beginning to see that now. There'll be a lot of vitriol out here in the upcoming election because we're going to be able to see that this is just a man, not just a man, but a deeply flawed man. Not a deeply flawed man, but a deeply flawed and insecure man. And the only person, the only individual in the entire hemisphere outside of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself that can expose that is a woman. And here's the dangerous part. It's a woman who is secure, emboldened, and encouraged, and evolved, and empowered to be a woman. That is the case. I think I showed you that thing with Gerald Ford a while back, and he was talking about a woman president, and he said essentially, if you didn't see the clip, he said essentially that the only way, because a young girl asked him, would there ever be a female president? He said the only way it could be a female president is if she was vice president and the president died. So you had a little bit of that happen. Joe Biden didn't die, but his campaign died. And what happened is you take Kamala Harris and you put her in a space where she has like-minded individuals. And I say like-minded individuals, I don't mean just women. They're like-minded individuals who are men who identify with the power of womanhood, or womanness, if you will. So what does this have to do with Sandra Massey? I'm going to tell you. We're going to come right back. I'm going to tell you. And I need you to just hold on and work with me for a minute, because this is going to take a little bit of time. We'll be right back here on the Shout Out Show talking about Kamala Harris versus Sandra Massey. Don't move. We're back. Thanks for joining us. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the Shout Out Show soldiers, the family, the Hall of Famers, the superstars. I want to give a shout out to Sister Reed. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To you, Sister Reed, thank you so much for joining us and being a long time ride or die here on the Shout Out Show. We appreciate you. Peace and blessings to you, Derek, and of course my nephew Juwan. I want to give a shout out to my main man Altaf Rashid. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian envoy to the show. Another ride or die to the Shout Out Show. Appreciate you, brother. I already gave her a shout out, but wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. The sister Satana who's doing yeoman work as we get ready to get through this program down in Dallas, getting things together. And when you do a show, a comedy show, there's so many aspects of it that can go wrong that you really need to be clear about what can go right. And Sister Tana has really been on that side of just trying to make sure things are right. And I want to give a shout out to brother JT, my little brother. What's going on, Doc? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He and I, we had this talk. We've been on this train, basically. We were talking about the election one Sunday morning. We have our Sunday morning call. And he hit me back because Biden pulled out on a Sunday morning. And it was amazing. So, JT, hope all is well. Give a shout out to Yolanda, my nephews, Justin, Jordan, and Rachel. Hope all those brothers doing well in Milwaukee. Tell them Unc sends love and good wishes. All right. So let's get to the thing. People say, what's the thing, Preach? Kamala Harris and Sandra Massey. So you have two opposite poles here, but in the same orbit, if you will. So Kamala Harris is the confirmed now Democratic nominee for president of the United States. Done. She's went and gotten herself an older white man, brother Walls, not Walls, brother Walls, Governor Walls from Minnesota. Everybody says she picked the right white man. Yes, she did. Shout out to my man Bilal. What's going on, beloved? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shout out to you and your queen, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. Good to see you, family. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining us. So this thing, if you will, is really, really important. And I'll tell you why. It's not beyond belief that Kamala Harris would run for president. If Joe Biden had won and done his 4 years, it's not hard to believe that she would be the next in line and we would be having this conversation, though it'd be a little bit down the line. This is a scenario whereby Democrats have figured out what Republicans do, which is we will win by any means necessary, even if we have to trash Joe Biden's political career, though I didn't care for it much. You guys know my feeling on that. But it was a case of ageism, and they pushed him out of the door. I'm not saying who held the door and who pushed them, but it's obvious that it happened. That's number one. But number two is this scope of Kamala Harris as president has brought a wellspring of euphoria, a wellspring of hope, and all of those things. But it comes at the cost of distraction. Because on the other side of it, and we don't hear people about it enough, is a woman named Sandra Massey. A woman who called the police. It may have been that she was having a mental health episode. We don't know. We don't know. And I would like to think that when we call our public servants, that when they come understanding that anything is a possibility. She called because she thought someone was around her house or, and she was a Black woman who was alone. I get it. Two police officers came into her house. She explained, and I could see if you watched the video, that she wasn't necessarily comfortable with them in her house. However, she had a larger issue. She felt like her safety was in danger. In speaking to one of the policemen, she explained that I have these concerns. And then enters a thing whereby with two policemen, not one, but two policemen to spy the entire thing, she goes to a stove because they ask her to cut off a pot of water. Now I'm going to paraphrase this. She had a pot of water on her stove. If I were to look at the distance between her and the pot of water, you'd have to really throw it a long way to injure somebody. The policeman asked her to cut the pot of water off, which preempts her going over there in the first place. And he says something to her, It's just, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Let's be clear. We started out with the fact that this may be an issue, that she was having a bit of a mental break, not a breakdown, just a mental health episode. People don't necessarily have mental breakdowns. They have mental health episodes. You lose your train of thought. Maybe you're going through depression or melancholy. Maybe, I don't know. But she had the clarity to let the police into her house. She had the clarity to call the police and have a conversation up to this point. At this point, she is down on her knees because the police have drawn down on her. Okay? She's not by the pot of water. Okay? They've drawn down on her. And you can hear her in a video beg for her life. Let's fast forward. This cop shot her in the face. Killed her. And when the other cop said, let's go get medical assistance for a call, he dragged his feet. He talked about this a kill shot. When you say it's a kill shot, this is not a compassion play. This is not, oh my gosh, what happened? This is what's indicative of politics against Black women. The same violations that you're hearing now preempted so many other situations that happened before. That police getting to a space whereby the price of life is not high enough for these people to have justice. Because if it was anywhere near it, we wouldn't be talking about this situation now. And I think it bears out that there's a bounty, or has been a bounty, on Black women for quite a long time. That the Black woman has to deal with so many hoops to jump through. She's got to deal with white supremacy. And then she's got to deal with, a lot of times, a Black man who comes home beaten and scarred from white supremacy, and who you think you're going to take it out on? Hurt people hurt people. Even in the best of relationships, hurt people hurt people. I guarantee. So what does this have to do with Kamala Harris? I'm going to tell you. Kamala Harris is in a space where people have removed her from the reality that she could have been Sandra Massey. That they moved her into a space where she could be president, but she couldn't be Sandra Massey. That she could be the leader of the free world, but she couldn't be Sandra Massey. That we have to somehow create this disparity to believe in our minds that these two don't connect. That these are not two Black women going through the same thing. There'll be a lot of political dirt thrown on Kamala Harris. A lot of it. It was happening before she ran. Okay? But my point is, the vitriol and the dirt throwing and slinging that we're seeing now is otherworldly. It's otherworldly. It sounds ironically like a cop that would shoot a Black woman in the face. Out here in Virginia, they just arrested a man who threatened to kill Kamala Harris. Where does that come from? Where does that come from? It is an environment. Okay? It's an environment. And I am not naive, neither are you. This culture of violence against women has been brewing for a very, very long time. And we can go back to the 2016 election with Clinton and Trump. The problem with Hillary Clinton, and we've said this before, is just the fact that she thought she was entitled. But that's a different type of entitlement. That's not a Black woman entitlement. That's if my husband was a president, I've been a senator, I've been an ambassador, secretary of state, whatever type of entitlement. And that has to do with the faux pas that come around with political office. But the game that's played right now is a game that's played out on the backs of regular people. That Sandra Massey somehow doesn't sound like Sandra Bland? That people commit these acts and through the process of the law, which is neither effective, it's not effective, lacking efficacy, lacking purpose, lacking direction, accountability, responsibility, that we put people through that process whereby the good become bad and the bad get to stay bad. And the overall understanding of law is not applicable because people morally don't have a center. People spiritually don't have a compass. And in that fact, we create a politics that's immoral. That the police system is an amoral system, only being regretful, only being repentant, only seeking redemption when it suits their purposes. You know what I'm saying? That the police officer that shot Sister Massey, he was an inferior policeman on top of being an inferior person. How do inferior policemen get in jobs where they get to be policemen? I mean, are we that hard up? Because his cousin has to be the one that took out Sandra Bland. That's what it feels like. Or Ahmaud Arbery down many years ago during 2020, a man that was tracked down like a beast, shot, hunted, killed. And his parents were told, his mother was told that he was caught stealing. He wasn't caught stealing. He was murdered. And only through these small miracles of clarity that God gives us, even when we don't see it, he allows the evil of people to come out. That the things you do in secret come out, no matter how well you try to cover it up. It comes out. You know, one of the good things about, just being a good person is when you're a good person, you don't have to worry about a camera. You don't have to worry. And the people are so evil, they tape each other. Can you imagine Miss Massey in her house being gunned down? It's on video. The boldness, the audacity of these people to create a new narrative other than you murdered this lady. She had no gun. She cut off the pot of water. Maybe deep down spiritually, when she said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, she was looking at the devil. She saw clearly who you were. And maybe that bothered you, Mr. Police Officer, Mr. Patty. Maybe it bothered you that somehow, somewhere, she could look into your eyes and peer into the core of your soul and know that you are not a good person. And know that you had no good intentions while you were there. That this was blood sport. Let me tell you something, people. Don't nobody shoot you in the face by accident, right? Let me give a shout out to some of our Instagram family. 50 Rashid, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much. Abida Al Swad, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. 1M Rahman, how you doing, beloved? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kaylin Lee Strain, thank you so much for joining. Salams to you. Umisa Live, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, little sister. How you doing? Oh boy. Ashmis and Ashik join. How you doing? Rashdi Nasir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you. 93 Hidden Gems. How you doing? Assalamu alaikum. And Fayez 1145 join. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. So let me get back to this thing, because I want you to know how politics works. And when I say how politics, how you doing, Eric? Brother Eric Carter of South Carolina, South Kakalaki, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me tell you how politics doesn't work. For BIPOC, which is a terrible Black, indigenous, people of color, just black folk, whatever. The system doesn't work if you have the audacity to challenge it, number one, and then you have the audacity to expose it, number two. The political system is broken unless you are willing to morally, spiritually, and ethically look the other way. That's number one. The other thing is law. Law. If Kamala Harris is elected president, she'll spend a fair amount of time understanding as a prosecutor that she can't change any of these laws that oppress people. She can't change the laws that protect police that commit crimes. She, as a candidate for president of the United States, as a black woman, can't stand up and say, this woman, Sandra Massey, was murdered. By reflex, Donald Trump, he doesn't even bring it up because he realizes, just like his opponent over here, he can't bring that up. He can't make the case. And after Trump was dealing with National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago, he can never make a case about anything black in America. Thank you, Donald. But there's two things I want to get off my chest. Two. For a lot of you, whether you like it or not, you're going to find yourself having to rally behind Kamala Harris. And why do I say that? Because if Joe Biden was in office still, he was still running, still in this race, still in this election, you wind up having to rally behind him. The reality is, you know that not being part of this process means that you can't win. Not voting means that you did not express yourself. And we can have all our druthers and that, but let me tell you something. The whole idea of not voting is dumb. It is not smart. You know, it is not part of the political process. It is not what our forefathers and pioneers really worked for. It's the reflex of a lazy psychology and a lazy psyche as it comes to political action in the black community. It's been killing us for years. Book it, I said it. Understanding that the opponent understands they wouldn't care about your vote anyway. But the fact you won't put it towards anything is foolish. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to ask everybody to please make dua for Sister Sandra Massey. I don't know a whole lot about her. I'm sure it'll come out. I don't know a whole lot about her. But what I know is this woman feared for her life. She feared for her life. In the same way Kamala Harris fears for her political life. In a different vein. Because it has so much to do with existence. As I get to the close, I'm going to ask everybody to please make dua for my cousin Frank. He passed away 2:30 on Saturday morning after a brief bout following a massive stroke. My big cousin for many years. I might come and talk about him on the show, but he gave me my first suit for my first interview for my first real job. That's the real job where white people pay you on time. And he looked out. And my cousin Kenny, his brother, said nothing worse. He always treated me like a little brother. Well, I was a perpetual little cousin. And I would hope that all of us have relationships with our relatives or in-laws that bode goodness and bode love and bode joy. All right. So I'm going to see you guys next week, inshallah. Until that time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Think it's not illegal yet. Take care now.